Bitcoin is melting faces right now. It's breaking out. It's breaking the market. We have it pushing to nearly all-time highs intraday, and it just closed the highest ever daily candle. We're at a little bit more than 107,000 right now. We have stocks, Bitcoin stocks, absolutely breaking right now, breaking everyone's expectations. We have BlackRock swallowing up so much Bitcoin. Again, people just don't understand what's happening. Let's talk about it. I also want to go through a warning from Coinbase. So stay through to the end of the video. If you want, you can hit the bell notification to know right when I post videos. Some of this will be time sensitive, especially as we push to new all-time highs. You want to know right when videos are posted because there is going to be time sensitive information. If you want to trade crypto, there are links underneath the video to WEEX, BTCC, and BitUNix. You can start trading in just a few minutes. You don't need a VPN. You don't need to KYC. And you can start trading with leverage. Now, I actually opened a position last night and closed it this morning, up about 30% or so. It was a very aggressive position. It was 40x leverage, which I do not suggest. But there's an opportunity, and it's not like I got in at the best price, but about 106,000. We broke up to 107.4, and I took some profits. You can see all the other positions I still have open here. But yeah, this is a great time to be leverage trading if you do it correctly, but you need to know what you're doing. I did make a video yesterday talking about how I would approach this as a beginner. Now, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow are still down today. This is the second day in a row that they've been down while Bitcoin's been racing upward. Now, why is that? Well, we continue to see these ETFs swallow up a lot of Bitcoin. BlackRock bought 2,705 Bitcoin yesterday. Now they hold 639,000 Bitcoin. I don't think people understand how significant this is. This is the 20-something day in a row that IBIT has bought Bitcoin, that they've had inflows. You can see 287, 305, 130, 410, 233. This is $1 million. So they're taking thousands of Bitcoin off the market every single day. That's why I make these videos like, why I make these videos like BlackRock is giving you 24 hours, because they buy every single day the market's open, and they're buying thousands of Bitcoin, and eventually that pushes up the price. Right? People want to complain, oh, why, if BlackRock's buying, MetaPlanet's buying, MicroStrategy's buying, why isn't the price going up? Well, they're obviously sellers, and after those sellers are exhausted, after they have no Bitcoin, we go up until there's another round of investors that are willing to sell at a certain price. So right now, it seems like we're battling this all-time high of 109,000. So there's going to be some resistance between 107 and 109, but if you just look at the 1 hour, like Bitcoin looks like it wants to break out. How many times do we have to hit 107,000, 107.5 thousand before we break above and just explode? There are going to be lots of liquidations. People that are shorting the market, they're going to get destroyed. I don't know why anyone is trying to short Bitcoin at this point. I made a video last night talking about whether this is a double top or a triple top. I don't think it is, and people that are betting against Bitcoin are going to get destroyed. And you can see just an insatiable amount of demand for Bitcoin. IBIT is now in the top 5 for ETFs in year-to-date flows. Almost $9 billion. $9 billion buying Bitcoin. Let's say the average price is $100,000. $9 billion divided by 100,000, which I think that's a little bit high for the average this year. 90,000 Bitcoin bought off the market. Yeah, that's going to cause the price to go up. Okay. Keep in mind, this is when we've had one of the most uncertain times in recent history with tariffs, where we saw markets fall down, and the NASDAQ fell, 25% in a very short time span. We saw a 50 on the VIX, which is, I don't want to say unprecedented, but it only happens once every few years. And we saw so much uncertainty and so much panic in the markets, and yet IBIT still has significant inflows. This is only going to get crazier, in my opinion. As the price goes up, we continue to see more and more demand. And this is actually less than what MicroStrategy has done this year, I believe. I think MicroStrategy has actually bought more Bitcoin than this. And we continue to see other stocks as well buying a significant amount of Bitcoin. For example, Metaplanet, they're at 7,800 Bitcoin. Even if you had bought at the worst possible time after they announced their Bitcoin strategy, like right that day or that couple days, it popped and then it fell down over the following weeks. It went down about 40%. But if you had bought at the right when they announced it at the worst possible time and just held till now, you'd be up over 2,000%. If you had bought during the dip a couple weeks after they announced, you'd be up 3,600%. If you had bought at like a better time the day that they announced, so like maybe right when they announced you buy in, you'd be up 5,000%. They have a short squeeze going right now too. They're actually the most shorted stock in Japan. It's funny because I think they're the best performing stock in Japan, and they also are the highest shorted stock. So I would not be surprised to see them continuously move up very aggressively. And as they move up, they can buy more and more Bitcoin. If you look over the last 2 weeks, they've accelerated their Bitcoin buying to where I think they bought 2,000 Bitcoin 1 week. They added like 50% to their treasury in 1 week. And then last week, they added another 1,000. So they're able to swallow up a lot more Bitcoin as they're being priced at a higher and higher rate, or a higher and higher price. Just kind of like MicroStrategy, where as the premium goes up and as the price goes up, they're able to sell more shares and buy more Bitcoin. Some people hate this. They say, well, I'm getting screwed, right? I could have more price appreciation on my MicroStrategy if they weren't selling at the money. They weren't selling shares at the money. But the fact is, their only goal is to buy as much Bitcoin as possible and have it appreciate. The more that they can buy, the better your stock price will do long term. And they're buying it accretively, right? They're buying it because there's a premium on the stock. They're able to sell at a premium. So yeah, these stocks are unbelievable. Obviously, when the price of Bitcoin falls down eventually, they'll fall down, and they'll probably fall down faster than Bitcoin will fall down. And there are other risks to these stocks as well. But as Bruce Hodl talked about, like if one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, then is Bitcoin an investment? Right? Like this is something that you really have to consider when you're looking at Bitcoin and you're wondering like, what can I invest in that outperforms Bitcoin? There's very little that outperforms Bitcoin. So these types of companies sometimes do. So it's quite interesting for people that want more Bitcoin over time or want to participate in some other way besides just buying straight Bitcoin. The Australian government now had a court ruling that could lead to $640 million in Bitcoin tax refunds. A judge's ruling in a criminal case may pave the way for a $640 million tax refund, challenging the Australian tax office's long-held stance on crypto taxation, basically saying that Bitcoin is money, not a taxable asset. If this happened, and this is something I've described before, like there are future opportunities for Bitcoin's price to exponentially shoot up that people aren't really considering. I'm sure that some people that are very deep into Bitcoin right now are considering this, but if a country wants to get their hands on more Bitcoin and no one's really willing to sell, right? How do you incentivize people to give you Bitcoin? Again, if you want to stack significant amounts of Bitcoin and people don't want to sell it and there's not that much being mined, how do you get your hands on more? Well, you incentivize people to use it in a way that's tax efficient. So you say, hey, you can come buy houses in Bitcoin. We'll give whoever's selling the house, we'll give them cash, but we'll take the Bitcoin from you basically. And that's how we'll stack Bitcoin, and you don't have to pay tax on it. So I don't care if you bought Bitcoin at $100, you won't pay taxes on that. It's crazy to think about because all the countries that we know right now really want tax revenue. But if people just aren't willing to sell their Bitcoin and they're not willing to part ways with it, they're not willing to pay the taxes anyways, this might be an interesting way for some countries to stack Bitcoin. So this Australian court saying that, yeah, maybe this is money. Maybe you aren't taxed on it. I think more and more things like this will happen in the future. Hopefully I described that in a way that makes sense. But again, it's going to be really hard for these countries to stack a significant amount of Bitcoin at some point in the future, especially if they're late to the game. Coinbase revealed that 69,461 users were affected in the December 2024 data theft. I think this happens more regularly than people think. I think this has happened before with Coinbase, whether it's public or not. I think this happens pretty often with crypto companies or with just companies in general, because I know people that have been affected by Coinbase well before this. They had their data taken. So be careful out there. They issued this warning like, hey, we're going to backstop and we'll pay out whoever needs to be made whole. I saw someone lost like $2 million from this. They were scammed out of their money. Of course, though, like part of this comes back down to whoever's investing, right? Like I'm not saying that it's necessarily your fault if you get scammed, but like you can help protect yourself if you realize that anyone reaching out to you is not calling from Coinbase. They're a scammer, they're a hacker. No one's going to call you and say that your funds need to be secured or that they need a code from you. That's not how they work. So like take proper precautions. Be careful. If you get a call like this, just know there's a 99.9% chance it's a scammer. Actually, we'll call it 100% chance. There's a 100% chance anyone calling you about your crypto is a scammer, or emailing you, or Telegram messaging you. Anyone that's commenting below the videos, I have people ask me like, "Hey, is there anything you can do to get these scammer bots or like the comments about XAI421 token or whatever it is? Can you get those taken off?" And unfortunately, no. Like there's so many bots that continue. I literally can't delete them fast enough to get them off the videos. And hopefully people understand over time that this is just going to happen more and more because AI gets smarter and smarter and it gets cheaper and cheaper to run these things. So be careful. People are going to come after your crypto, especially as Bitcoin and other cryptos are hitting new all-time highs. It becomes more profitable to scam you. So be careful out there. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you do want to trade crypto, there are links underneath the video. Of course, do your own due diligence, read their terms and conditions. Check out the links to WEEX, BitUNix, and BTCC, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.